Good morning, brothers and sisters. My name is Chukwuemeka from the Igbo Hebrews organization. Like I always say, this is the Igbo people that have realized that we are the Hebrews of the Bible and we have returned to the worship of our God. We've left Christianity. We no longer practice Judaism or Islam. We've returned to the true worship of the God of Abraham, the God of the Bible. So, brothers and sisters, today we'll be discussing the feasts of the Most High, how the feast should be kept. This lesson has been requested by a number of brothers and sisters, and it's been coming for a while. So today we're going to discuss it, and I'll basically tell you how I observe the feast of the Most High. For today, we're going to make use of the Book of Jubilees. If you have the Book of Jubilees, please keep it open, and then if you have the Bible as well, keep it open. Just go to the Book of Leviticus chapter 23. That is from there that we'll be discussing the feast of the Most High. So, children of God, as we want to discuss the feast and how the feast should be offered, the sacrifices that should be offered, the celebrations, and whatever feast or the Hebrew feast that we want to keep, a lot of people when they read the Bible, they said that those feasts and rituals of the Old Testament are no longer necessary, that Christ is now our sacrificial lamb. I think there's somewhere in the New Testament where Paul wrote that Christ is now our sacrificial lamb. First of all, brothers and sisters, I want to say that is not true. You know that is not true. The reason it's not true is this: when Christ was alive, he kept those feasts. Even after Christ died, if you read the book of Acts of the Apostles, his apostles kept those feasts. His apostles did not say, no, Christ is our sacrificial lamb. No, Christ himself was actually celebrating the feast of Passover the night before he was arrested for execution. He celebrated, it's documented that Christ celebrated the feast of Passover. Like I said, and I've always been saying this, whatever Paul wrote to the Colossians, if you are from Colossian, you don't have to keep the feast. But if you are a Hebrew, you have to keep this feast, because the Bible made it very clear that it is an eternal feast. It's something that we have to keep forever. Okay? It's something that we have to keep forever. It's eternal. So I know I've seen a number of people that say, no, Christ is our feast, Christ is our Passover feast, Christ is our Passover lamb. No, brothers, that is not true, because Christ himself was celebrating the Passover, and the idea of human sacrifice is an abomination unto the Most High. Christ did not die for it, was not sacrificed for us. There's no such thing as human sacrifice in the Hebrew worship. And I'll do a video to explain that some other time. But I want you to understand that these feasts that we're explaining today, they are eternal. They are binding. You will see them in the scripture. Christ too, when he was around, he did this thing. His apostles did the same thing. They celebrated these feasts. So you don't go around and say, no, Christ is our Passover, Christ is our feast, Christ is our sacrifice unto God, that we no longer have to do these things. That's not true. That is a deception that people interpret from the writings of Paul. Because in Acts of the Apostles chapter 21, even Paul went back and did these things. So his letter to Colossians, probably Colossians are not Hebrews. So he's telling them what they can do. But if you are a Hebrew, if you are practicing the Hebrew religion, you have to do this. It's very important that you understand that. Don't go and be saying, oh, Christ is here. No. Okay, if you are from Galatian, fine, you don't have to do it, no problem. This message is not for the Galatians. This message is not for the Corinthians. This message is for the Hebrews, for the Hebrew people. This is the sacrifice that our ancestors used to keep in the Holy Land, even before the Holy Land, from the days of Noah, from the days of Abraham. These are the sacrifices that they used to keep, and these are things that even if you read the book of Allah, this is the sacrifice that we kept here in Igbo land before the slave trade era. This is something that we have to dig up and start doing again. Okay, so brothers and sisters, let's start from the Bible, from the book of Leviticus chapter 23. Like I said, from what I have observed, brothers and sisters, there are two kinds of feasts that the Most High instructed us to keep. Two kinds of feasts. Number one is the feast that we will celebrate in their season, anywhere we are, wherever we find ourselves. And number two is those feasts that the Most High told our ancestors to celebrate when we get to our land of promise, when we are settled in our land of promise. And the difference between these two feasts, brothers and sisters, is the logistics that is involved in them, the logistics involved in celebrating them. So today I'm going to explain this feast, my understanding of this feast, and how it should be done, and I'll tell you the ones I do and the ones I've not been able to do. So the first kind of feast are those, like I said, that we have to celebrate in their season, anytime, anywhere we live. It doesn't matter where we are, whether we live in a cave, whether we are living in a mansion, whether we live in our land of slavery, whether we are living in our land of promise. It doesn't matter. We have to celebrate those ones. So children of Abraham, let me first of all explain the feast that we have to celebrate wherever we live, anywhere we live. Okay, it doesn't matter where we are, we have to celebrate this feast. And if you have the Hebrew calendar, these are feasts that occur in the first month and in the seventh month. It doesn't matter where we live, we have to celebrate those feasts. But the feasts that occur in the third month and every other month, such as sin and peace offering, it's mostly where in our land of promise that we have to celebrate those. So the children of the Most High, let me go ahead and explain that to you. Like I said, I'll be starting from the book of Leviticus in chapter 23. If you look at from verse 4, it says, "These are the feasts of the Lord, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their season. And in the 14th day of the first month, even is the Lord's Passover." At even is the Lord's Passover. And on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread. And unto the Lord 7 days you must eat unleavened bread. Okay, so brothers and sisters, the feast of Passover and the feast of unleavened bread, which is done on the first Hebrew month, these are feasts that you celebrate anywhere you live. We don't have to get to the promised land, or you don't have to settle in a mansion or anything. Anywhere you live, you have to celebrate these feasts. Okay, it doesn't depend on your location, wherever you are. It is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings. So it doesn't matter where you live. This is the Sabbath of the Lord, and this is something you have to keep irrespective of where you live, in all your dwelling. Okay, that's the feast of Passover and unleavened bread. Now we go further again. If we go to Leviticus 23 verse 24, the Most High said, "Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, in the 7th month, in the first day of the month, you shall have a Sabbath, a memorial of blowing of trumpets, and a holy convocation. You shall do no several work therein, but you shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. Also on the 10th day of this month, there shall be a day of atonement. It shall be a holy convocation unto you, and you shall afflict your souls, and offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. And you shall do no work in that same day." Okay, then if you go to verse 31, it says, "Ye shall do no manner of work. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings." Again, you see the same thing that when he talked about the Passover, right, and the feast of unleavened bread, he told us that this should be a statute forever in all our dwelling, irrespective of where we live. It doesn't matter where we find ourselves, whether we're in the land of captivity or whether we are in our home country and with free resources. We should observe this feast. But it also said the same thing too for the feast of blowing of trumpets in the 7th month, and the feast of atonement too. This is a feast that we have to observe in all our dwelling. And verse 32, he said, it shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, and ye shall afflict your souls in the 9th day of the month at evening. From evening unto evening you shall celebrate the Sabbath of the Lord. Again, brothers and sisters, you already know this by now. The Sabbath of the Lord is celebrated from evening of a day to evening of the following day, because evening, a day, according to the Bible, a day is when the sun goes down till when the sun goes down again the following day. For instance, on the 18th of September, we have the Feast of Trumpets. On the 18th of September, according to the Hebrew calendar, 2016, on the 18th of September, we have the Feast of Trumpet. So that means that you celebrate that feast on the 17th of September in the evening. As the sun goes down in the evening of 17th of September, you start celebrating the feast. And when the sun goes down in the evening of the 18th of September, that's when the feast ends. Okay, probably I'll do another video for you to see from the scriptures how Sabbath is celebrated from evening to evening. But that it suffices for now just to tell you that that's how you celebrate the Sabbath. Okay. Now, brothers and sisters, another feast that we have is the Feast of Tabernacles in the 7th month. Now, from what I've read here, brothers and sisters, it's a little bit confusing. Okay, it's a little bit confusing because I'm talking about the book of Leviticus chapter 23 verse 36 and verse 40. They both refer to the Feast of Tabernacle, but they both say something different. Verse 33, I'm sorry, verse 33, he said, and the Most High spoke unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, saying, the 15th day of this 7th month shall be the Feast of Tabernacles for 7 days unto the Most High. On the first day shall be a holy convocation. You shall do no several work therein. Verse 36, it says, 7 days you shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. On the 8th day shall be a holy convocation unto you, and ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. It is a solemn assembly, and you shall do no several work therein. So, brothers and sisters, for the Feast of Tabernacles, book of Leviticus chapter 23 in verse 36 is telling us that every day shall be a burnt offering. We shall offer a burnt offering to the Lord for that feast. However, if we look at verse 40, it's a little bit different from what it says. Let's look at verse 40. It says, and ye shall take you on the first day the boughs of goodly trees, branches of palm trees, and the boughs of thick trees, and willows of the brook, and ye shall rejoice before the Lord your God 7 days. Okay, and then verse 41, he said, and ye shall keep it a feast unto the Lord 7 days in the year. It shall be a statute for you forever in your generations. You shall celebrate it in the 7th month. Okay, so brothers, sisters, in verse 36, we are told to do a burnt offering unto the Lord every day for 7 days. However, in verse 40, we are told to use the branches of trees, palm trees, beautiful trees, and the willows of the brook, and the boughs of thick trees, lovely trees, and should decorate it in the house, and we shall rejoice for 7 days. I think this gives us an opportunity for those who can offer burnt sacrifices, who live in a place where they can make fire and offer burnt sacrifices. They can go ahead and do this. But for those who don't, you can use your palm trees or other trees and decorate your house. Just like when I was in the Catholic Church, during they have this feast that they celebrate with palm trees. Is it Christ the King? Corpus Christi. They call it Corpus Christi, where they use palm trees and decorate their house. And Ash Wednesday, Corpus Christi. That's what they call it. So for those who cannot make fire and offer burnt sacrifices, you can use the palm trees or other trees and decorate your houses and rejoice in the Lord your God for 7 days. That is how you keep the Feast of Trumpet. Brothers and sisters, that's how personally I keep it. The Feast of Trumpet in the 7th month. So here we've seen that this feast it doesn't matter where you are. Wherever you are, you can celebrate the Feast of Unleavened Bread. You can celebrate the Feast of Passover. Whether you can make fire and offer burnt sacrifice or not, if you can make fire, you can still celebrate the Feast of Trumpet by offering a burnt sacrifice to the Most High every day. And I'll explain that, how to do that from the scripture. And if you can't make fire, you can still use palm trees and other ones and keep it in your houses and celebrate it. Like I said, brothers and sisters, observing this feast is similar to celebrating it. If you cannot offer the burnt sacrifice and other things, just by observing this feast, you are also celebrating them, because the Most High knows the situation where you live in. Okay, it's not something that, okay, you must offer this bull and one bullock and one goat and one ram. No, if you cannot observe, if you cannot do these offerings, just by observing them, observing these days as Sabbath or feast days, the Most High counts those. Okay, so that's it. Those are the feasts that we should celebrate in their seasons, irrespective of where we live, in all our dwelling. Now, brothers and sisters, there are other feasts that the Most High said we should celebrate when we get to our land of promise. Let me explain those.